Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you have the uncommon pleasure of listening to the voice of Olusegun Opeyemi Odunton, host at the Burning Mic podcast. At the Burning Mic podcast, we discuss burning national and international issues. And we do our utmost best to douse these burning national and international issues with the analytical waters of objectivity and scientificity. And we recommend way forward on these issues. Well, for the past few weeks or for the past few months, we have spent most of our time analyzing what is going on the international scene and at the expense of national events. Well, this decision does not make us less Nigerian. We remain as patriotic as the most vociferous or as the loudest commentators and analysts out there. But well, we can explain our near absence on the international scene to the fact that, after objective observation, we have come to the conclusion that what is going on in Nigeria as we speak is a politics of absurdity. Well, we are seeing the Nigerian state unravel and fail and crumble before our very own eyes. Well, as we said, it is a politics of absurdity. And logically, it doesn't make any sense, or it doesn't make much sense to continue to criticize what you consider as an absurdity, as a failed system. To a large extent, what is going on the international scene still makes some sense to us, and we can still explain it. But what is going on in Nigeria as we speak defies common sense, it defies logic, and we continue to be stupefied and dumbfounded by the level of absurdities to which the Nigerian state is climbing to. Well, today it is my intention to discuss security. But before I delve into that, in a situation where we have arrived at a sound conclusion that what is going on is a politics of absurdity, that there is a systemic failure, it doesn't make sense to continue to criticize what you have logically concluded to be an absurdity and a systemic failure. So we have always recommended, and we continue to do so, that the only way out is a systemic change. It is a revolutionary change. Because look, I'm not going to waste my time criticizing Tinubu, because the point is, the available options, Atiku, Obi, these are all birds of the same feathers that can do Nigeria no good. So it will be hypocritical to continue to criticize Tinubu, knowing that there is a failure of a system, and that system is bigger than him. Yes, is taking advantage of this system, but the point is, it did not invent, it did not create it. So what we recommend is an holistic systemic change and revolutionary change that will usher in a new system that is going to favor the millions of citizens who have been reduced to abject poverty and disillusionment. Well, today it is my intention to look into the security situation. As you all know, the number one responsibility of government is the protection of lives and property. We continue to see a nation, our flag, and the soil under our feet is soaked in tears, blood of Nigerians, day in, day out, week in, week out. So there is always this massacre, bloodshed, and deaths going on, perpetrated by terrorists. And as we have said, well, this is getting to proportions where Nigerians need a radical shift in orientation. Let it be said that we have repeatedly made it known that the security architecture, that the security apparatus, and the political architecture of the entire Nigerian state is compromised. And to continue to expect any positive results from this compromised architecture, it's like waiting for Godot. It is not going to work. There is a very thin line. There is now a very thin line between state actors and non-state actors, because we have sympathizers, sponsors, and beneficiaries of terrorism within the Nigerian government. Our military, of course, they are fighting tooth and nail, despite the fact that they are stretched. But the truth of the matter is that the military itself and its sister organizations are themselves infested with terrorist sympathizers that sell intel and that sell arms to these non-state actors. So this relationship between terrorists and state actors make it near impossible for the Nigerian government to defeat terror and to keep Nigerians safe. So you also need to realize that the security architecture is also spread thin. The Nigerian military is engaged in counter-terror activities across multiple theaters. And mind you, you cannot defeat an unconventional enemy with conventional tactics. But whether there is a change of tactics or not, we remain convinced of in our conclusion that the Nigerian military and the entire security apparatus as it exists now is compromised and infested at the highest level, and they cannot defeat terror. And it's not about the number of men, it's not about the number of equipments, but again, we repeat, the entire political and security architecture of the Nigerian states is compromised and infested with sympathizers, sponsors, and beneficiaries of terror. And if you continue to rely on that architecture to defeat terrorism and to protect you, then I have a bridge to sell you in the Sahara. That is that on that. What is the way out? Well, of course, last year, President Trump threatened to intervene, and many Nigerians were excited about this intervention, and we warned against this, and we cited examples that the United States has not defeated terrorism anywhere in the world. And our neighbors in the Sahel, Niger, Mali, they told us, and from their experience, they said wherever these people go, France, US, UK, in the name of fighting terror, of helping to fight terror, that instead of defeating it, terror has escalated. So rather than helping to defeat it, terrorism has been perpetrated in order to justify their stay. So we warned against this, and we said that look, outsiders are not going to come in and help you clean your house up out of goodwill. It has to be because of something else. And if you look well, ever since that announcement, ever since that Christmas Day bombing that did not kill a single rat, and ever since the military contingent of the United States landed in Nigeria to come and help fight terrorism, instead of going down, has gone up, and we continue to see a lot of bloodshed. And we have always recommended that we need to continue to look inward to solve our own problems. And one of the things we recommended back then, of course, it is a difficult choice, but Nigerian insecurity, Nigerian terrorism is at such a point where it has reached terminal level, and it is like trying to treat cancer. The treatment depends on the stage which it is. Nigerian terrorism has reached stage 4 terror. So it can no longer be resolved by the easiest choices. We have to go for the toughest choices in order to take these things out. And when you look at the activities of terrorists, in order to instill terror, their number one tactics is to target the soft targets, is to go for the soft targets. And the only way to deter them or to reduce the scale of their terror is to harden the soft targets. We have said that our security architecture is not only compromised, infested, but in whole sincerity, if it were not infested, if it were not compromised, the security architecture is in whole sincerity stretched thin. It is overwhelmed because they are engaged in multiple theaters, multiple fronts, and they continue to confront an unconventional enemy with conventional means. So from the get-go, that is a failure. That is an F9. They're not going to win. So we have said Nigerians need to take up arms, not against the states, but for self and states. Yes. So this duty of protection of lives and property that was delegated to government has failed at it. So the delegators of that duties have a moral duty to rise up and to defend themselves and to defend the states against non-state actors. And if we delay in taking this tough choice, it is not only Nigerians who will continue to be slaughtered in their hundreds and thousands, but in the end, the Nigerian state itself will be killed by these non-state actors. As I said, and as I acknowledged, it is a tough choice, but we cannot be paralyzed to make this tough choice while we continue to watch thousands, hundreds, day in, day out, week in, week out, all year round. We cannot continue to watch citizens slaughtered. Taking up arms, yes, self-defense is a sacred right. And where government has failed, or where government is weak, you have a divine right to protect not only yourself, but the loved ones whom God has entrusted into your care, your child, your mom, and your aged family members. And life, human life, is the most precious gift ever given by God. And to let that life be taken away by beasts, messengers of death, without any attempt to protect that same life, is a sin against God. That is the truth. So when I say taking up arms, it is not against the state, but to save the state, to save our commonwealth against these common enemies. And that is the way out. And taking up arms, I want you to also understand it is the underlying concept of community policing itself. Because when you're talking about community policing, how do you do that and how do you implement that without harms against armed non-state actors? Well, look, we are not going to continue to overflog this, and I should also remind you that the head of the DSS, Department of State Security, once advised Nigerians to take up arms to defend themselves. This is an arm of governments, the intelligence arm of government, stylishly telling you the same thing, that government is overwhelmed. You cannot expect government to come out and tell you it has failed. No, but every piece on the chessboard tells you that government has lost the that government has lost the initiative, that government has lost the monopoly of the use of force to non-state actors. So you don't expect government to come out and tell you we have failed. But if you do not have the sense to put things together and to realize that government has failed, then I don't know. But at the same time, law-abiding citizens cannot continue to abandon their right to self-defense, cannot continue to discredit the need to take up arms, because if non-state actors have arms and they are using their arms to harm the citizens and the states. So if bandits, terrorists have the right to if they bear arms against you, against the state, what right do you not have as a law-abiding citizen to take up arms? Well, I will not overflog this, and we have said in summary that obviously government has lost the initiative, government has lost the monopoly of the use of force, and now government is sharing that monopoly of the use of violence and force with non-state actors. And we have stated clearly that both non-state actors and state actors are sharing the same bed, that the security and the security architecture and the political architecture of the Nigerian state is compromised, and that you cannot expect that same compromised architecture to defeat terrorism, and that you have a duty, moral, divine, and civic duty, to take up arms in defense of self and state. Thank you. Olusegun Opayemi Odunton, and this is the Burning Mic podcast. God bless you.